Hello, friends. I want to share with you a discovery that Dharmadas made recently while he was researching the scriptures. He came across the information that the yamas and niyamas, the yamas are the restraints on the spiritual path, the things that we want to keep ourselves from doing so that we don't create more negative karma. And they are things like nonviolence, not living in the senses, not lying or stealing or being overly attached. And and then the niyamas are the things that we do want to do. We want to practice contentment. We want to be practicing cleanliness and self-study. We want to make good sacrifices so that we can achieve a higher goal. We want to be devoted to God. So those are things that we want to actively do, whereas the yamas are things that we want to put energy into not doing, to stop ourselves, to get rid of those habits. And so while doing this research, Dharmadas found that although Patanjali, who was a very well respected and loved ancient exponent of yoga, Patanjali, gave us 5 yamas and 5 niyamas. However, many ancient texts preceding Patanjali, maybe 50 of these Upanishads and different scriptural texts, normally listed 10 each, 10 yamas and 10 niyamas. And we found this fascinating. I especially have always wanted to have, from my childhood, I wanted to know what was ultimately true, what was the actual code of moral ethics that could shape our lives in a positive way. And that is something that the yamas and niyamas help us with, because they show a path for healthy interaction with others and a sense of right living in ourselves that's absolutely essential on the spiritual path if we are to grow and change and evolve to our highest potential and to be truly happy in our lives. And so the new yama that I want to talk about a little bit today is non-hypocrisy, or sincerity. And this is something that is particularly relevant during these times of political unrest and so much uncertainty in life. I often read the news, and it's fascinating to see how one event can have multiple spins of interpretation. And it's so difficult to tease out what really happened, why it really happened, and what it was all about, what the truth of a situation is. There's many artistic movies and plays and stories that go around this theme of one event happens, but everyone who's involved experiences it differently and sees a completely, in some cases, completely different story. So when we go inside and practice non-hypocrisy, what that means is really to speak the truth, to know the truth, and to live by that truth. Not to say, oh, I'm a vegetarian, and then secretly eat steak for breakfast. We have to live by our principles. We have to live by what we know of the truth. And it's interesting in these very troubled times, too, although sometimes I think any time in this world has been troubled, whether people generally realize everything that's happening or not is a different story. But to be in this world is to be in a place fraught with danger and uncertainty. It is where we have incarnated. It is the nature of this earth life. But during these especially troubled times, it's important to remember that we are in Dwapara Yuga. We are in an ascending age, and it's just the early part of Dwapara too. It's an age of energy. You can see this easily by thinking back 100 years and what people were doing in those days versus the technology and the space travel and all that has happened. And it's all energy. It's all a manifestation of that divine energy. And so early Dwapara Yuga also is a time of exposure to all the things that have been hidden away. I think about in the mid-20th century, domestic violence happened as it has happened throughout history. But it was very hush-hush. No one talked about it, and it was hidden away. By the mid-80s, it had started to become known, and people were starting to do something about it. There were hotlines and services and help for people who were subjected to that. And like so many things, today racism is being highlighted. It's being brought to the light so that it can heal, so that people can start to grow beyond this race hatred, which incidentally is one of the 8 meannesses of the heart that Sri Yukteswar talked about, race prejudice. It's very, very hard on the heart. It twists the heart, and it's one of the things that we have to eradicate from our hearts. It's very important, or we won't progress spiritually. So, taken in this context of early Dwapara Yuga and all the twists that people can put on the truth, and how hard it is to discriminate and understand what is the reality, it's especially beneficial to meditate on this Yama of non-hypocrisy, because truth starts within ourselves. We have to live by our truth. We have to know what that truth is. We have to have meditated and gone within to know deeply who we are, what we need, what our goal is, and to live by that and to walk that truth. Walk the talk, as they say. And that's what non-hypocrisy is. Being totally sincere, living in the truth. And in that way, when we are bombarded with all the negative spins on all sorts of things that are happening out in the world, by living sincerely, by living our truth, and living by the truth as we know it, then we can discriminate and we can understand what is really happening. And that's very important for our growth, for our survival, and to live in joy, which is the purpose of our lives. Master used to say, this world for most people is a nest of troubles, but with God, we can make this life a nest of fun. And let's do that. Let's live in joy, live for God, with God, and with love for God in everyone.